So then he said, it is as if everybody will be in one great room, just like the New England town meeting, everybody in one room. But here's what he missed. The room was so big, that no one was really paying attention. It was the problem of rational ignorance that defeated his aspiration. He created an industry, but he didn't create a form of thoughtful democracy, which is what he thought he was going to do. Now, just to jump ahead, the deliberative poll, which I'm going to turn to now, the deliberative poll also puts the whole population, whether it's a town, a city, a nation, or as you will see, even the entire European Union, it puts the whole population in one room. But on a scale that's small enough where the people are effectively motivated to pay attention. So it puts a microcosm of the population in one room. And then we see how their opinions would be if they really did behave in exactly the way that George Gallup hoped the American public would behave. That is, listening to all the arguments and coming to a considered judgment. And of course we'll have to get to why is that relevant to you, in the sense that when most people aren't paying attention, but it turns out to be quite relevant if you want to make important decisions. Quite relevant if you want to make important decisions, because otherwise you have the problem that you might be captured by self-selected mobilization, or you might just be reacting on the basis of noise. So I'm going to skip the possibility of everybody becoming informed, although actually there's more to talk about there. But now, with deliberative polling, yes? Do you want to get a microphone so William's comments can be captured for the record?
If you had, say, community, yesterday we've been talking about Yesterday we were talking about in our definition.
Yeah.
And I'd like to believe that what we are looking at is what use in these same populations.
Sure.
Which we call the people.
Right.
Why would you go to a place where there are landslides, where we are going to work, and we have a defined community, and take a random sample? Why not take everyone?
Oh,
because
well,
this is a manageable.
If you can,
what would be the difference?
Well, okay. So as I say, it depends on the population you're interested in. And indeed, we have a scheme for everyone. But if it's we've done deliberative polling even in relatively small communities, 5,000 or 10,000, because managing a discussion of 5,000 or 10,000 is actually a pretty big logistical operation. But managing a discussion of 200 or 300 or 400 in the way that we do it is quite manageable. So even if it's 5,000, there's a reason to do random sampling, because you can organize it with small groups and moderators and really engage people. I'm going to discuss later how this how this came. The whole idea of this, which I thought I invented, goes back to ancient Athens. And in ancient Athens, the hill where the assembly met could only hold 6,000. It's called the Pnyx, which I visited. 6,000, if you have 6,000 people in an assembly, only the great orators really would be able to address and affect the views. But if you divide them up into small groups of 12 or 15 or so, then you can bring everybody into the conversation in a relatively equal way. And you can allow them you can turn it from audience democracy into a participatory process. So the population would really have to be very, very small. And interestingly, the studies of the so-called New England town meeting show that the only ones that really work in the way that they were supposed to would be the ones that are 300 or 400 or 500 people in population. Jane Mansbridge has a study of this. but the problem is the New England Town Meeting has deteriorated because with suburban sprawl, a lot of these places have 100,000 people or so, or more, and so they can't all get together, and only a tiny self-selected population will do so. So, if there were a particular context, this is a very good question, because if there were a particular context where there really was a reason to consult a very small population, then yes, we would do it with everybody. And we did that in an area of China that where there was a dispute in a village about the women's rights in the collective land, where the men, if women married outside the village, they lost their rights in the collective land, but if men did, they didn't. And this was a dispute that we had a role in getting some discussion about. So that was a very small case, but I think that's the only time we've ever done that. But so we'll return to the choice of populations, but there might be a context where we would do that. But I'm thinking that, the reason I want to give the overview is I want to lay the groundwork for a dialogue with each RA lab about the context of a possible deliberative consultation that will fit the agenda of that lab and the priorities of that lab, where there are a lot of other conditions to be fulfilled in terms of the materials, the issues, the stakeholders, etc. And so that's why I think the process will lead to very different projects in different places. And in the later